Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Anchorman discussion.
Oh, we're starting.
Yes, we are. We're in it.
Burn my tongue.
I do. I want to start by giving a little warning. We're going to talk about everything that happens in the movie, so you should be familiar with the movie to go along with this podcast. But also, if you're not interested in a rehashing, this may not be the discussion for you. Because there's not much else to do with a movie like this.
That's what Adiscussions are. You just described what a podcast about a thing is.
It's true, but people are too lazy to read books. People will watch movies.
I don't care. Why would you want to warn lazy people? Why? That's not the demographic we're aiming at.
Good point.
Hey.
Good point.
If you're lazy, how you doing? I bet you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're watching this instead.
My favorite is that Anchorman starts really strong. I don't like when movies either try to start dramatic, like they're not going to be a comedy, and then they break into comedy. The first thing it says is, this is based on actual events. Only the names, locations, and events have been changed. It's the first thing they say.
It immediately makes a joke about it, yeah.
And then the first joke, essentially, is when the narrator comes in, and he's like, Ron Burgundy is the balls. And everything he says up to that point, and everything he says after that point in the whole movie is perfectly professional. That is the only joke the narrator makes, but they put it in the first 2 seconds of the film.
Yeah, and the whole thing is set up like a biopic on Ron Burgundy.
On Ron, yes.
Like a documentary style.
It's even called The Legend of Ron Burgundy.
Yes.
It's
like a
subtitle, yeah. And then they do that scene where Ron is saying all the like weird intros and stuff like that.
Unique New York.
My favorite is, the arsonist has oddly shaped feet. I don't know where that comes from.
The Silver Surfer was denied a bank loan.
Yeah. And then his makeup is all messed up. So he's like, Audrey!
And they do that in two scenes. It's like it's like a cutback.
Look at this.
At first he's like, this makeup is terrible, and it goes on to like a different joke, and it comes back, and he's still like, Audrey!
Yeah. It's like, this is Bush League. If you were a man, I would punch you in the face. So aggressive. Oh,
so it was written by,
I don't know actually who it was written by.
Will Ferrell and someone else.
Okay.
I have a feeling that a lot of what happens in that movie, especially stuff that Steve Carell does, was in the moment, where they were doing like over and over and over again. Part of what I love so much about Brick is that his character is dumb, but all his comedy is super smart. Like the scene, like the joke that I've already made is when they're all talking about something, and he's like, burnt my tongue.
Yeah.
But the makes it sound like he actually has a point. Or like,
she's a real ice queen. Oh yeah, real ball buster. Burnt my tongue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, he's really dumb and he's never in the moment, but his jokes are always perfectly synchronized with what's happening in the scene.
My favorite dumb joke that he has is when he walks up to Veronica and like the other dude and goes, excuse me, I would like to invite you to a party in...
The pants party.
The pants party. The party with the pants. The pants party. I love how he walks up and he goes, yeah, excuse me.
Look this way.
Yeah, look this way. That's it. Oh, those are the little things. Like when you watch movies like Wayne's World, you can tell those little things kind of just like went into the scenes as they were being made. Stuff that you can't write. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that you can't write. Things I didn't even make notes on because you can't. But
dude, there's an attention to detail that I never noticed.
Yeah.
So there's a scene right after Ron and Veronica are no longer happy with each other. Veronica needs to watch a story on a VHS.
Yes.
And Ron is showing some like intern like an Emmy performance.
His Emmy acceptance speech.
And he's like so fucking full of himself when he's doing it too. He's like I don't even remember saying that kind of stuff. But the attention to detail is that the dude that he's showing it to is in the same seat for the whole scene, including when all the people show up and there's a fight, and at the end, and they're like yelling, and she's like, you have bad hair. The dude's still fucking there. Still like, wow. Like he like can't believe all of this has happened in front of him.
I'm showing Jeffrey here history.
I just love that he's still there. Like,
oh my God.
The scene the scene with Brick where he's like Brick isn't even sleeping anymore, and it goes over to Brick and he's holding a banana and he's like yeah, and he like points at his banana.
At his banana.
Like, he has no idea what's going on.
For no reason.
I fucking love it.
There's a scene where he's like, oh, it's 72 in our beautiful city. Compare that to 48 in the upper northwest and 38 in the Middle East.
I never understood that joke.
I know. Oh my god, something that we would only understand now as adults.
And the Moscow joke is so stupid. They prank call Veronica and they're like, this is like Todd
Rithjold.
Todd, yeah. It's like, you've been promoted and you need to move to Moscow.
This second phone call is better. When he's like,
tell her she has to buy a coat. Sorry, 1 second. What? He's like, you're gonna need to buy a coat. It's
pretty cold.
It's cold in Moscow. I don't know if you know this.
The second call when he's like, I got your results and yep, you're knocked up. As if a doctor would talk to anyone that way.
He's like, you might not remember me, but I'm a real doctor.
Yeah, you took some tests you don't remember. And Champ even says at the start of the movie, these are Champ's ideas of fun after cocktails. He says, starting a fire in someone's kitchen, go to SeaWorld, take off my pants.
It says at the end of the movie that he's like fired for sexual harassment.
Yeah, for
and
harassing
everything
Terry Bradshaw.
Like, the consistency in the characters is amazing.
It's beautiful.
Like all the way through, they all try to pick up Veronica, but Champ is the only one who harasses her.
Yeah,
the rest of them are just like saying stupid shit. He straight up touches her.
Yeah, which is really gross.
And then at the end, he's like years later. Like, I love that.
And there's that one scene when they're all brown bagging it on the floor right in front of the news desk, and he's like, you know what? When all this gets sorted out, you and me should get an apartment together. He's holding a drink. His cowboy hat's all jostled. He's like, his character is so out of control.
Yeah, he's like, I should probably stop saying stuff as they come in my head, eh?
Pop up in the old noggin. I'd like to put some barbecue sauce on that.
See, what I never noticed, I think I've never actually like dialed in on the conversation they have on the field right before they meet Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
Ever. I don't know why. For some reason, I guess like the scene before it or like knowing where the next scene is going, I've never once actually listened to what they say because it's a continuation of the conversation.
Yes.
He says again, like, he's like, that hiney, like, woo, wow, 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 wow. And then Ron's like, please, she has feelings.
She has feelings,
I've never,
too.
I don't know why, I guess the way that movie's made up, I'm never thinking about the movie in that moment. I'm always like not present. So like this time was the first time I actually heard that conversation.
Yeah, sometimes opening dialogue is almost like understood to not be necessary. It's like it's just a preface.
Yeah.
I like that when they do take Veronica on at the news team and they're all standing around and like shouting how bad it is that she's gonna be there, and Brick's like, I heard their menstruation attracts bears.
It's a 3 camera angles on him during that one scene. He's just like, they can smell the menstruation.
You hear that, Ed? Bears.
Bears.
Now you're putting the whole station at risk. But the best part is when they ask Ron, and they say, Ron, like, what do you think? And he goes, it's terrible. She has beautiful eyes and her hair smells like cinnamon. He's just screaming. And then she asks if she could use an office. And he just shouts as loud as he can.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you can use my desk and then later we can go to lunch. Lower your voice, Ron. It's just some of the placement of lines, I think, is the most important part of that movie.
I think the most important feeling, like the where this movie really gets its atmosphere is how many long shots they take that are not really tightly edited. Like the first time that they meet up with Vince Vaughn's nighttime news crew, it's almost like they just had several cameras rolling and didn't cut. There's like long scenes, like long relative to comedy, where like nobody says anything. They're just kind of like staring at each other, and there's like it's not quiet. It's like the background noises are like pretty loud for a movie, and it all feels like very real because almost like that's how the moment actually went.
Yeah, when they actually met there, yeah.
Like, take, for example, I think a really good comedy of this era would be Keanu. It's expertly done by people who understand comedy. And they have a feeling, there's a feeling to that movie, which is that it's extremely well shot. Like, every shot is amazing. But there's no realism in that film because of that cutting.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, a lot of these scenes feel like actual awkward moments between two people who don't like each other. That's why it's so good.
Their fight scene is one of the
fight
best
scene.
scenes because she goes to lift the copier over the desk and he just rams his head into it as hard as he can. Totally intentionally.
What I like about it is, like, there's almost no absurdity about that fight scene between Veronica and Ron. Like,
You mean like there's nothing about it that couldn't happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole fight scene.
It was totally absurd.
It's
the whole
absurd,
thing was absurd.
that everyone's being held back. They're like, they're talking. Let them
Yeah, that's my
fight it
favorite
out.
part. They're just talking.
They're
attacking each other. Ron gets maced twice.
Yeah, once by himself.
Oh my god.
And the way she's like whipping him with the antenna, like it's all so mundane. Perhaps even the way an actual office fight would go down.
That's a good point, because office fights would not be that intense. I like
No.
she whips him with the antenna.
Yeah.
I just thought that was such a great weapon because it's sort of like a non-damage weapon. It just...
Can we talk, like, do you have I imagine you have a plan for talking about the news anchor fight.
I do.
Okay, I'll let you take the reins then.
Okay. Well, the last fight. I like how we're going through all the fight scenes all at once. But the fight with Ron and Veronica. I love how it starts because he says, "You are a smelly pirate hooker." He tells her. She tells him he looks like a blueberry. And then that's when he says, "Why don't you go back to your home on Whore Island?"
It's so consistent with the characters. I love it.
And when everyone's freaking out, Brick is just screaming. No words, just screaming loudly just to add to the mayhem. But yes, the fight. The fight scene, there's not much to say about it.
What I like about it is that it's why that movie, like, it's so... There's such an atmosphere and a feeling to that whole film, and that's a huge part of it, is that when you haven't seen it before, the first time you watch Anchorman, you can't even believe that this is about to happen, because nothing in the film is even close to that.
That ridiculous.
The fight between Veronica and Ron happens after, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so there hasn't been a single fight in the show. Nothing aggressive has happened to anyone. And out of nowhere, in this scene where they're supposed to be shopping, which, by the way, never happens. We never see them shop.
Yeah.
They're suddenly in a legit battle where nobody seems to be concerned about how Brian has a fucking gun.
Yeah. No touching of the hair or face. And like, that is it.
I wonder if it upsets people that the Spanish news network has like 6 dudes, 5 of them seem to be of Spanish descent, and then the guy who talks is a white guy named... What the fuck's his name?
Ben Stiller?
Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
Why does Ben Stiller have to represent the Spanish people? They couldn't find a Spanish guy?
Yeah,
there's plenty of Spanish comedians.
It's a bit role, too. It's not like he's a major portion
No.
of the movie. Yeah, they could have done that
That was
better.
the only one that stood out to me, because I loved the other people that they chose.
Yeah, Luke Wilson was Channel 3 or whatever, and then they had
from Shawshank.
Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins
play the other guy. And I liked that Luke Wilson's character loses both of his arms.
And they don't even try to make it look good.
No.
In that last scene, it's so obvious that he has his arms
inside the suit, yeah. And I just love how he's like, damn it, and he's not even bleeding. He's just perfectly fine.
They also, when what's his name? Jack Black. When Jack Black kicks Baxter off of the bridge, they use the most obvious, like, toy of a dog.
A dog.
They don't even try.
Dummy dog, for sure.
And, like, to me, is still, like, I don't know if you've seen an NSP music video in a long time, but they their quality of cinematography and choreography and all that stuff has gone way up, but they still use hokey stuff to like kind of connect them back to their old roots, where they're like throwing Dan off of a cliff in like a horrendously
in a really
stuffed
shitty suit.
Yeah. Like they still do that kind of stuff. Like the 69 video had him in that still, like him being like thrown around in a bed and shit like that.
Just because it's more fun, right?
Just when someone is willing to break the suspension of disbelief for a joke is so funny to me. Because you couldn't do a realistic dog falling off a bridge scene and still keep it at comedy.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be funny.
That's a good point. They followed it up really well. Like the scene after it like pumps comedy back into it.
You mean where Baxter jumps back out of the river? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just like how they do little things sometimes that aren't even seen. Like the restaurant that they go to after Ron and Veronica's fight, where Veronica finds out that he'll read anything off the teleprompter. The restaurant is called "We Spit in Your Food" in Spanish. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's probably one of the best like trivia facts about the movie, because there's no way you would know that as an English speaker.
There's a couple things that made me laugh still that I've seen so many times before. One of them is the telephone booth scene, because he doesn't even say anything. It's just like, hello? Ah!
Yeah.
Ron? Go!
Bye-bye, funded Baxter.
I threw a burrito.
He took him with his foot, and he kicked him. I like that he asks him where he is, and he says, I'm stuck in a glass case of emotion. And when he's running back to the station, and there's that guy just walking along the sidewalk, and he hits him as hard as he can, tossing him into the grass, and just screams, I have to read the news. Oh, man.
Something you may not have noticed is that, I don't know how many scenes this is consistent in, but Ron and Veronica are usually wearing opposite colors, and Ron is wearing burgundy for a huge section of the beginning.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because he wears blue in that
the
fight
blueberry
scene.
scene.
Yeah. You look like a blueberry.
But she's wearing red in that scene, I'm pretty sure.
She is, yeah. Wow. I've never thought about that, but they're not exactly opposites per se. I do like that the movie actually has this undertone of like women taking their place in the world. Because there's even one point where Danny Trejo, who's playing the bartender, he's like, look, it's different now. Ladies can do things. And then Ron just goes, I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish. It's the rudest thing in the whole movie, probably.
Some of the shit that they say about women, it's like really real. Like if you were around for that time,
sexist,
it would be very uncomfortable.
Yeah. You got a brain a third the size we do.
Science.
It's just science.
Well, when they first introduced Veronica, the next scene, I love the way that that's done too. It's like, it's not quite a smash cut, but it's close. Where they're like, they introduce Veronica as their new anchor, and then the next scene is just Brian going, oh, come on! And it's like them in the office arguing about it.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I love women. Oh, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the...
Yeah, they
the
rev
whole
my
scene
engine.
is horrible. Like it's like some of the stuff that they wrote, it was amazing that it was pulled off as comedy, because on paper, it's all just sexist bullshit.
Sounds terrible. My favorite part about Brian is that his character is super consistent, but his character just has this like sitcom feel to him. The way he does certain things. Yeah, Brian's character. I like that he's reporting on Ling Wong the panda, and he's like,
he doesn't know.
Yeah, he's like, back here we've got Ching King. That's what he calls Ling Wong. And then he calls him a panda jerk. Like they said, you cannot interview him. He is a real bear. He will literally rip your face off. Get out here, you panda jerk. You're making me look bad. It's the best reporting ever.
I love that the big story is a fucking panda giving birth.
I know.
It's like
so useless.
The story of the whole thing.
Well, they also live in LA where they have droughts and earthquakes all the time.
San Diego, isn't it?
Oh, sorry, California I meant. Like in California.
I didn't know San Diego was in California.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's actually pretty close to LA.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's down
Interesting.
There. That's why milk is a bad choice.
That's why people are always singing about California.
In the movie?
No, in real life.
Oh, because it's beautiful
because
and
there's lots of stuff there.
Oh yeah.
Earthquakes. That's what I meant.
Well, California, the state of California has almost as many people as Canada.
I'm pretty sure the greater Los Angeles area has that.
No, greater Los Angeles area is 20 million. California as a state is 35 million.
Holy shit.
Canada is like 37 million. Yeah, so they're not far behind us. But we have more snow.
I mean, we say we have more space, but we don't use it.
Yeah. Yeah, we have space that we could theoretically go and freeze to death in.
Sure.
If we wanted to.
Oh, yeah. Polar bears are technically, like, there's so many, the polar bears are, like, there's places where there are more polar bears than people, and
we do have water, though.
I would technically consider them, like, part of the country, they're nationalists.
Well, yeah, there's places where polar bears will roam the streets in Canada.
Oh.
Yeah, Churchill, Manitoba.
Is that the term, nationalist?
Sorry, what?
That's what I call polar bears. I don't think that's right, is it? Pretty sure that's someone who's from a different country.
A nationalist is just someone who's like really patriotic about their nation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Polar bears would likely not be naturalists.
I'm a pretty big fan of Canada, so.
I am too, but I think the polar bears would be like, fuck those humans. I don't care where they come from. Well, they're going to eat you either way. They don't care what you are.
That's true. No, that's true.
They're just like, wait, can I fit you in my mouth? Can I fit part of you in my mouth? Okay. I'm going to fit you in my mouth.
I'm going to push on the ground till it crumbles and kill all of the seals trying to live under the snow.
Yeah, they're terrifying beasts.
They're cute.
Chin King is also a terrifying beast who will literally rip your face off. And then Brian puts on Sex Panther, which is one of the linchpins of the movie. Sex Panther. I love it. 60% of the time, it works every time.
I love how Ron reacts to it because
the whole time, yeah.
Well, like, from the start, he's like, "Ooh, it's pungent. Kind of sort of stings the nostrils." Oh, and like that's like the first hint that we get that this is about to go wrong. And this is probably the 5th time I've seen this movie, and I still laughed so fucking hard at all of the versions of what people say it smells like.
So these are the 4 that people come up with. So Ron says, I'm going to be honest with you. That smells like pure gasoline. And then the dude says, or no, Veronica says, smells like a diaper filled with Indian food. And then Brian goes, well, desire can smell like that to some people. Trying to save face. And then a dude in the background's like, oh, it smells like a turd covered in burnt hair. And then that's when the woman goes, oh, it smells like Bigfoot's dick. And then she runs away.
The fire alarm goes off. Yeah, I laughed so hard.
He's doing this little waving thing, and he's like, oh, what smells? And
then they're
hosing him down and scrubbing him.
And the next scene, he's soaking wet.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's the scene where Brick burns his tongue. Holy crap.
What I like about that is that the joke keeps ramping up. He's like, oh, it's pungent, stings the nostrils, smells like gasoline. It's like a diaper. It's like burnt hair. It's like all the way up to Bigfoot's dick, which is like the most ridiculous thing they could have written in that scene.
Oh my god, I had a friend in university who that was his favorite line in the whole movie.
See, this movie reminds me of a time when people weren't worried about offending people because you'd never make the Indian food joke.
It's 2003 now.
Yeah.
Or sorry, this was 2003. So yeah, it's true. That joke would be different today, just slightly different.
You would throw something else in there, like as far as like
with spicy food.
Spicy food, You would go
just,
like
you would just mute that.
Yeah,
it's true. It's very true. Hang on. Oh yeah, probably one of the great awkwardest scenes in the movie is when he's asking her to dinner, and he says to her, "Strictly professional." And then she's like pointing downstairs, and he's like, downstairs? 8 o'clock. Mr. Burgundy, you have a massive erection. And then he tries to, I'm taking them back to the pants store now.
It's sort of an illusion.
Yeah, don't act like you're not impressed.
That's the best way.
It's the most quotable line. I use that one all the time. Oh my god. But you remember Tino, right? Tino's jazz club?
Yes.
Do you remember the story that Tino goes to tell them?
That was what I was going to say.
We have a saying in my country. I have it written down here. The coyote of the desert always likes to eat the heart of the young. Then the blood runs down to the children for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and only the ribs will be broken.
He's like, Tina, please. It's
so
silly.
It's so aggressive. I just like that no part of it, like it's not coming to anything. That's not going to end anywhere. No. It's not a proverb at all. Oh my God. And then when he's playing jazz flute and he starts walking out onto the tables and just crushing martini glasses. That would be so dangerous. You would roll your ankle on the second glass you tried to step on.
Well, that's why that shot was done from the legs down, because they probably had that whole scene set up for him to like just keep stomping on glasses.
But yeah, there's no way he actually did that, because you could get so badly hurt.
They didn't even
weren't even real legs. They didn't just like a pole around pants.
No, what I was gonna say, but they didn't even use the actual actors to jump like 6 feet down into the bear pit. Like even that is stunt doubles,
and that makes sense because that's way too far down. Like you can fall like 4 feet maybe before like you're gonna hurt yourself. And I like that he's just ready. Just pulls it right out.
He's like,
I'm not prepared at all.
Prepared.
Honestly, not prepared.
Sleeve of all places.
Walks up there, East Harlem Shakedown. Take the bass for a walk. It's like
heavy on the cymbals.
Yeah, that's one of those. It's one of those when in Rome things that he just does not understand. I like when they're about to go home and he's like, "What if we weren't co-workers? What if we were co-people?
Just a
you
man.
be a man. You be a woman. I'll be a man." And then she's talking to him in Spanish, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just dirty talking to him. And he's like, "Stop it. Stop talking like that. I can't understand you." It's such a Ron Burgundy thing to do.
Well, that's the consistency with Ron.
With
is
his
that
character.
He can understand his dog, but not when his dog speaks Spanish. He can't understand Veronica when she speaks Spanish. And then he chooses, like, I guess the rule of threes, I guess, there would be that the last time it's Danny Trejo who isn't speaking Spanish, but like that's the third joke is that he's saying it is Spanish because he doesn't want to hear it.
And even though he lives in San Diego, he does not know how to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. I actually didn't even notice that they were sort of like poking at that. Like
they do a couple of those. They only do 2 of those phone calls to the head guy, but his kid. Oh no, they do 3. No, that's right, they do 3.
So the first one is, "I'm sure you've seen your fair share of pornography." "Oh, I'm sorry you haven't, Sister Margaret." The second one, I believe, was the bow and arrow into the crowd.
Yes.
Our youngest was on something called acid and was firing a bow and arrow into a crowd. And the final one is he's like, "Just put down the gun and let the marching band go. We'll try to play it off as a prank." And then he just hangs up on him. And he's like, "Oh my God, Ling Wong." Totally going a different direction. The actor that plays Ed Harkin, I don't actually know his name. But he is fantastic. Is it the same actor that plays in
Harold Kumar?
No. Pitch Perfect. Have you seen
no.
It's not him. No,
the
it's
announcer. No, it's
different
guy.
Yeah, okay. But they have a very similar vibe.
They have I think it's the jawline hair thing.
It is, yeah. They look like they could be news broadcasters in the 70s. Which is kind of like, that's the idea. I just like how useless he is as a father.
Oh yeah.
And then when Ron takes Veronica home and they do that sex scene, I like how that was done because it was super tasteful.
Right. Yeah. It's also funny.
Yeah, it was funny. It did not break up the flow. It didn't do a cut to black, come back to morning, which is the worst because you're just like, oh yeah, they just slept comfortably in a bed together. That makes perfect sense. These co-people.
So yeah, well, she says, "Take me to Pleasure Town," which is actually a place in the animation.
Exactly.
And then he's like, "Wow, what a rainbow!" And
she's like, "Beautiful rainbow ever."
Me on it.
That is my favorite part about it because they're just so throwing it in your face.
Oh, it's silly. Yeah, it's funny and it's silly.
And the song they play?
I can't remember.
I think it's by Frank Sinatra.
Oh, okay.
The whole world is on candy. It's like something like that. It's just this like really nice ballroom music. It's the right way to do the scene. Yeah. And then when they wake up in the morning, they do it so like, oh man, it's almost like a stage production because she's leaning there.
Yes.
And then he like comes up from behind her, but where are they looking at? Like either unless the dog is over there, like it's kind of strange.
Yeah, and then he takes his coffee mug that is perfectly centered so that like the logo of the station is on it, and he like puts it around her arm like hello, like it's gonna be a photograph or something.
And then I like that in back-to-back scenes he says, these are quotes by Ron, "Tasteful discretion is the name of the game." And in the very next scene, he's screaming, "Veronica Corningstone and I had sex and now we are in love." Every word. It's like there's no paraphrasing there.
See, that's the one thing that kind of bugged me about it, and I guess maybe that's just because it's supposed to be a stupid movie, is that they fall in love in one night.
Yeah.
I guess it's probably in the interest
of saving time.
Well, the movie, I don't know if it takes place, it takes place within, I think, 3 days. But I don't think those 3 days are all connected. I think there's time between those days. I'm not sure, but
probably.
Like they don't do. There's not a lot of time in between, and it all kind of feels like it's happening very in like this one very small period of time.
It's hard to tell in a city where the weather doesn't change, eh?
You
don't get any clues.
Well, you see nighttime like twice, I think. So I think it's like a 3-day thing.
It might actually be a very short period, and then there's obviously that huge like period where Ron is in exile before he comes back.
Right.
But other than that,
I forgot about that.
Like the lead up to him could have been, but also I think they implied that there was a lot of time involved there.
Yeah.
They implied that there was periods here and there because the announcer even says like all of this would change one day with a simple act of littering. So it sounds like a bunch of time has passed and then this event occurred. I don't know what happens before that, actually, though, to be completely honest. Like, I don't know where they leave off right before the scene where Ron fucks everything up. I don't actually know what came before. But the skyrockets in flight scene, when they all ask, what is love like?
It's beautiful.
It's such a perfect scene, and the four of them are a great quartet for it too, so it just worked out really well. Like that, their voices are.
Well, Steve Carell like does like the
such a high alto.
The high, yeah.
Oh yeah. Rubbing six and stones together, make a spark tonight, gonna find an afternoon daylight.
I think that joke would have been much. I think it wouldn't have been funny if I already knew that song. I didn't know that was a real song for years.
Oh yeah, you thought it was for the movie, eh?
Yeah. I thought they made it up right there.
I like that they had this one extra on the DVD that we watched where it's...
Isn't it the full song?
Yeah, it's the full song, and before it actually starts, or maybe in the middle somewhere, like during the instrumental section, Ron's voice comes in and he's like, "This song is great because it's about having sex in the afternoon." And it's like, awesome.
That's the only reason why I knew what it was about.
Yeah,
because I saw that, yeah.
It was explained to us. And that's the I Love Lamp scene, too. I love Desk. I love Lamp. I love Lamp.
I think what Brian says in that scene is way funnier than the Lamp thing. He's like, I think I was in love once. You know, I met this girl in a bathroom, and we just made up for hours. What was her name? Can't remember. She was like Chinese or something weird.
Something weird. That's the best line.
He doesn't remember what her nationality or her name was, and
when
he thinks he was in love.
Name, and he doesn't know. He's like, "That's not a good start."
Not a good start.
But keep
I actually
going.
think that line right there actually had a big influence on like what I would later like develop into my own comedy style. The way he says that line, not off to a good start. Like the way he says it, the way he like when I just actually watched this like right before you came over today because I actually forgot what day it was. I had to text you today. I was like, "Shit, is that today?"
Yes, it is.
And I was like, you came in the door, and I was watching like the last
final scene.
Scene. I was that close on it. Anyway, when he said it today, I was like, "Shit, that may have like years ahead actually affected my like what I thought was funny as comedy."
Could be that sort of dry style.
Yeah.
I like that dry style sometimes. I personally like styles that sort of fall in an extreme. Either they are intended to make you laugh because they're not being silly, or they're intended to make you laugh because they're super silly. Those are usually like my favorite ones.
And the film does that very well.
Yeah, it usually falls on one side of the spectrum, which is kind of what... You know, the whole movie was about punch value, right? There's this scene where Ron is picturing what his life will look like with Veronica. And he comes home and like all his Emmys are there and she's cooking in the nude for him. And then his sons are there. I think they're like cleaning his Emmys or something. His sons are there and he says, "Hi, boys." And they look up at him and he goes, "You look great, gentlemen. No eye contact." And they like look down at the ground and then he just laughs. It's so weird. So weird. Like, it's got to just be like an era thing, you know?
It's a joke. Yeah, it's a joke about the 80s.
Totally an era
or no,
thing.
what time was that?
70s.
No, 70s.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was in the 70s. Oh my God. And then he gets angry at his friends and he goes, "And our children will form a family band and we'll tour the country and you won't be invited." Such a whiny baby. They all are. It's so good. And I like that they litter so much. Like an unbelievable
This is a scene where every
amount.
one of them tosses their food on the ground.
Right before they run into Mantooth the first time.
Yeah.
They just like toss their corn dogs on the ground and they're
Yeah.
all just totally fine with that.
I'm pretty sure Champ knocks something out of Ron's hand. That could be just me seeing that wrong. But the first thing that gets thrown on the ground, I swear he knocks it out of Ron's hand.
Yeah, I think someone does actually knock something out of his hand, yeah.
And that's what it like starts them on throwing that shit.
Yeah.
That may have not even been like written.
Maybe not.
They may have all just done that because someone did that.
They were all
accidentally.
holding their corn dogs, so
Yeah.
someone just slapped his plate, and then all the plates just went to the ground. But it's so perfect for the 70s because like that was part of the mentality back then was like, oh, someone will clean it,
Right.
you know?
We're men.
Yeah, and I like when he does the littering on the bridge and he hits Jack
Yeah.
Black with the burrito and he just goes, "Hello, neighbor." That's how he greets him.
I love that he took like a bite of the burrito and he's like, "This burrito is so good, but it's so filling," and he just tosses it out the window.
He throws it out his window. He's such a inconsiderate jackass.
And Jack Black is so good in that scene.
What the hell, bro?
And the way
Smacking his helmet?
the way he smacks his helmet, like, "Let's go."
That's quite the raspberry you've got right there.
He just like doesn't even understand what
Got
he did.
Jack Johnson and Tom O'Leary right here. Fuck.
And he's like willing to fight him, but then he doesn't do anything about him picking up his dog.
Yeah, he even tells him the things that he loves.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, I love poetry and a good glass of scotch and this vulnerable dog is sitting right next to me." Oh my God. I'm locked in a glass case of emotion. And my favorite part from my childhood was always that Brian Fantana has a 2x2 Rubik's Cube, which I think is very telling of how Brian is.
Did he?
Every time I watch that scene, you see it on his desk. He has a 2x2 Rubik's Cube. And I remember thinking as a kid, like, what is the purpose of a 2x2?
How do you solve that?
Oh, easily. That's the key to it. It's
Oh.
just easy because there aren't very many variables.
Wow.
I think there's only the most moves you could take to solve it is 11. The most. Right? Unless you like deliberately fuck yourself up. So
How complicated do those get?
a regular Rubik's Cube? Or
No, do people have like 6?
Yeah, I've seen a Rubik's Cube that was like I forget what I think it was some sort of hedron. So I think it had 8 octagonal faces. Yeah, and each of those faces had, I don't know, maybe 64 like colors on it. And like the normally it's just 3 planes, right? You
Right.
can go forward, backwards, or like twist.
Oh.
Well, it was actually on 8 planes because there was like all these weird diagonals that you could turn it on. So they basically get to the point where you might as well have a computer solve it for you.
I love that.
Or take the stickers off and move them.
The standard 3x3 like actual cube has such a there's a system that once you figure it out you can actually solve them without even looking at them.
Yeah, it's weird. The learning curve is unusual because with most things the learning curve is obviously steep at the beginning, but with that it's sort of like a straight line up. Once you figure it out, from there, unless you want to like become a competition person where you like try and get down to 10 seconds, there's nowhere else to go.
Oh,
Which
interesting.
But it's cool in a way because, like you said, once you figure out the pattern, once you figure out that like series of steps you have to take to solve it, it's just about applying, and then you become the computer running the fucking code.
He's hacking.
One of my favorite lines from the movie that we used to quote all the time is when Veronica sits down like in Ron's chair to do the news.
Mm.
And Rick just looks over and goes, "You're not wrong." And we used to say anytime like a substitute teacher came in or like anyone we didn't recognize, we would just be like, "You're not Ron. Like, what are you doing here? You're not Ron."
And then Champ like really reinforces how much of an asshole he is. He's like, one mistake
And you're gone.
Yeah.
Whammy. And then when Ron comes in after the news has been read, they have this huge fight, him and Veronica, and then he says, "We are through because of your actions, you scorpion woman."
So I think that role kind of it feels like it established a style of comedy that Will Ferrell kind of stuck with, but it didn't always fit
in other movies. You mean?
Yeah, because he does that wild insult thing in a lot of movies.
Yeah, and it only makes sense in certain ones.
Well, this one was great because like even though Ron Burgundy he grows by the end of the film, he's still a douchebag.
Yeah, no,
like even in the final scene, he still like jumps in the pit after like making a bunch of noise, and he's still an idiot. He hasn't changed.
That's
like
true.
That's what he's supposed to be, is this wild, arrogant douchebag. So like when he throws accusations and shit out there, being like "you scorpion woman," like it's great.
I just like that there was no requirement for Ron to grow.
Yeah.
Ron was given a second chance because someone did something highly immoral and unethical that made it so that he was necessary again. He did nothing. He did not reform.
Oh, yeah.
He did not apologize. And people were excited to see him again. They were like, "Oh, the guy who said fuck San Diego's back."
Yeah.
He even runs through this cart filled with cans. Like to the fucking brim with cans. You remember that scene, right? It's the same as the guy he knocks over on the way back to the office. He just, for no reason, like he leaves the van, turns around, it's obviously a cart, and he runs right into it. Like rolls over it pretty much. And the guy goes, "Well, I'll be. It's Ron Burgundy. He's back." Even though these cans are going everywhere.
Maybe that's why it's so funny, because it doesn't use the hero's journey.
At all.
Are you familiar with the hero's journey?
Yeah.
It's an 8-step process.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Harmon is a huge fan of the hero's journey. He's part of Rick and Morty.
Oh, okay.
And basically every episode follows the hero's journey. And his like least favorite episodes are the ones that don't conform to it.
Really?
Yeah.
The hero's journey is a really good archetype because it makes for great stories.
Yeah.
But I find comedy is less about stories than it is about comedy.
Well, that's why I liked Keanu and the Brothers Grimsby, because they never put the plot ahead of the comedy. The comedy ideas were all fit into how the story played out. Keanu's a little different, but I thought that the Brothers Grimsby, have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen that one.
It's got a plot, and it has like some serious moments, but it doesn't do that dumb thing that most comedy movies do, where they get so wrapped up in the story that it gets serious.
Vanishes.
Yeah.
I hate movies that you think are going to be a comedy, but they're actually a romantic comedy, and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, it's not even like a comedy anymore at all.
And then at the end, they try to like throw a joke in there to be like, look, it's still a funny movie.
By the way, it's still funny. We've done our allotted joke.
Yeah.
Our allotted one joke per 10 minutes to make sure. One movie I did like that I never saw any of the follow-ups to was The Hangover. I felt like The Hangover did a good job where there was a storyline. They went to Vegas, they lost someone, and eventually they found him. But that storyline was so not necessary. Like, it was really just a series of, like, chaos.
None of it has anything to do with the movie. Or, sorry, with the plot.
Yeah, exactly.
They find the guy on the roof in the hotel room.
At their hotel, yeah. They could have gone, and I think that's one of the best things about it, is they could have gone and got him that very morning.
Yeah.
And just left. And it would have been fine, right, if they remembered where he was. And I think that Anchorman, obviously, is not the same, but is similar in the fact that this solution existed all along. All he had to do was get someone to push her in a bear pit, and he would have been back.
Yeah.
Because they didn't even have a backup option. They're like, well, we're just going to use this retired person that the city hates as our backup option for Anchorman.
Right.
Right? Like, not even,
they
like...
couldn't even throw,
Brian?
like, Brian in front of the camera.
No, again, and when they're talking about who they're going to put on instead of Ron, he says he's going to have Brick go on. Why the fuck would Brick go on? Put anyone else other than Brick on there. Like, that's what's so great about it, is that everyone treats Brick like he's this genius for some weird reason. Like, they just trust Brick as to where the store is.
I think maybe it's because maybe it's a joke about how in the 70s they didn't really understand his condition. Because they say in the opening, like when they introduce him, they say years later they would call me what some people say mentally retarded.
See, I noticed that when they walked to the clothing store, they walked for like a really long time.
Yeah.
I forget what it was that set me off to that, but it was like a 45-minute walk. It was a long way to get to where they were.
How did you know it was a 45-minute walk?
I don't know. I haven't written down here.
I think it's because they use this really wide helicopter establishing shot that shows you that we're not anywhere near.
Yeah. Well, and it was something in the dialogue. They were just talking about walking like forever. Maybe he even says, Brick, we've been walking for 45 minutes. Brian might even say it.
Oh,
Jesus,
okay.
And one thing I was thinking was, what do you think about the idea that potentially Brick set up the Battle Royale? Because they arrive right when everyone else is showing up.
And he had a grenade.
He brought a grenade with him, yeah.
Which doesn't go off.
I mean, he doesn't know how he got it.
Or he had to use it.
Yeah, but I just felt like Brick was leading them somewhere and intentionally not telling them what they were going to do, and then all of a sudden everyone else is coordinated. So
wow.
Maybe.
He might have.
I don't know. I mean, why are all of them armed? Why did Ron have a bedpost in his suit?
They got a little... Like, they kind of lacked creativity with some of the other characters' main weapons.
There were a lot of swords.
Well, I didn't mean that. Like, there's like 3 or 4 people with a bedpost attached to a saw blade.
Oh, really?
And just like the saw blades in different angles.
Oh, okay, I see. So they just they needed to manufacture a couple of weapons right quick.
Yeah, and then they made sure that the leaders all had
unique
weapons, like a whip and a nail, a bat with nails in it.
Yeah.
And for some reason he has a bedpost with like a saw blade on it.
No, it's just like a bolt coming out of it. Like his is actually the worst weapon of anyone's. Because I think Champ had brass knuckles, which are actually a pretty effective weapon. Brian had a gun, and Brick had a hand grenade, and Ron had a piece of wood.
I don't think that the gun goes off.
No, I don't think there's
any
shots.
He holds it up like he's going to fight with it like a melee weapon, too.
He probably does. He just smashes people with it. I just like Brick's summation of what happened. He says, yeah, there was horses and a man on fire, and I killed a guy with a trident. That sums it up. That's how the fight went down.
I love how Ron tells the other two that he killed somebody. Like he doesn't jump on it. He's not like, yeah. He's like, yeah, Brick killed a guy. Like he's like actually kind of worried about it for a bit there.
It's almost like genuine intrigue more than shock. He's like, yeah, Brick killed a guy.
Yeah.
Like, also, who would have thought?
I had I just got like this snapshot when I see him with his legs up on the desk, and he's like, wow. That escalated quickly. I was like, I have seen that meme more times than I've seen the scene.
Oh, many, many more times.
Like it's what is it? There's a crying scene in a movie, and it's a meme now. And then I watched the movie again, and I laughed.
It can do that, man. It can totally switch it up.
Yeah.
In that scene, Ron says the dumbest thing. He says, the last time I looked in the dictionary, my name is Ron Burgundy. Why the fuck would I be listed in the dictionary?
A joke that I fucking loved this time. It's like a commentary, but it's also a great way to establish how dumb Ron is. The guy's like, we need more diversity. He's like, what's diversity? And then Ron says, I believe it was an old wooden ship back from Civil War time. And Brick's like, oh yeah, for sure. And then the lead guy is like, no, I don't think the station was worried about the lack of an old wooden ship.
And then Ron's like basically sleeping on the desk, and he goes, Ron, are you paying attention? No. Well, I'd like you to. This concerns us all. Fine.
He's like, "Where's the network here?"
Such casual disregard. Oh, man. And then when he says, "What's your name?" He's like, "My name's Champ Kynes. My name's Brian Fantana." And then Brick goes, Brian Fantana. No, you're Brick. I'm Brian. It's just such a great scene. Brick's character in the whole movie is just like highlights.
What
Brick
if
puts these like little moments that are funny without needing to be connected to anything.
What if, to connect your theory, what if Brick's name is Brian Fantana and Brian stole his fucking name and everyone just said stop, like just let him have it. It's his. You're Brick now because you're dumb as a brick. And so he set up the fight to get back at everybody for taking his fucking name. And then when nobody dies, he's still mad about it at the end. So he's like, "I'm Brian."
Oh, man, that's hilarious. Could be. He is Brian Fantana.
I should make one of those fucking all caps fucking YouTube thumbnails like
Arrows.
the dark side of Anchorman.
Oh, man, that's what everyone needs is a theory about this thing that no one's really watching. Yeah, the fight scene where they're saying they're just talking. I just love how blatantly false that is. They're holding people back from a fight and saying they're just talking. It's just such great lunacy.
What is that thing that woman says? The woman that tells Veronica about the teleprompter.
Oh yeah. Ron
She's like,
will read.
anything.
Yeah. That actress is hilarious.
Her in The Goods.
Oh yeah.
When she's talking to the guy played by Don Rickles, or is it Rickles?
I don't know.
Who's a 6-year-old in like a 46-year-old man's body.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, so what if I like gave you like a baseball glove? He's like, "I'd like to work it in." She's like, "Yeah, would you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I would just like pound it really hard." He's just like going on.
Shove it under my pillow.
Yeah. She's like, "Okay."
And then she's also Derek's wife and stepbrother.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I wanna take you and ball you up and put you inside my vagina. Just feel your curly hair in there.
That movie's brilliant. Do you plan on bringing that to the show?
Maybe. If this goes well, I'd be interested in that.
The whole the scene with the family where they're singing and he's like criticizing everybody. He's like, "You're a little low, bring it up." But
even better is when she's singing, he's just berating her. "You're flat. This is the worst thing I've ever heard. $400 a month for singing lessons, and this is what I get?" While she's singing, like, he doesn't even stop her.
It's terrible.
Oh my god. So when Ron gets busted for the whole "go fuck yourself San Diego" thing, and he's like wandering the streets lost, there's this old man that like hurls his plastic cup and newspaper at his feet. Like, you remember that? Yeah. He's just walking, this old man just like wants to show his distaste, just hurls these things at the ground. And then the little girl,
"Yes,
you are a bad man.
You a disgrace."
Oh my god. And then he goes into Tito's bar and Tito tries to make him eat cat poo.
Yes.
And he's like, "I will not eat cat poo." "Yes, you will eat cat poo." "No." "Yes." Ron Burgundy says no. "I don't care. I'll eat this shit. I'll eat the whole thing." The next scene, though, he's actually totally lost. Like, the next scene is the milk was a bad choice scene.
Yeah.
And it all starts and he goes, "Lady in the red hat. Yeah." Like, you know you're a fucking asshole if your sentence ends with "yeah." Right? He's walking down the street, he hasn't shaved in weeks. And then he goes into that bar with Danny Trejo, and he's just being an asshole. And then Danny Trejo asks him, he says, "What's wrong with you? Like, why are you such a weirdo?" And he says, "A she-devil stole my heart." And then he screams at him, "I'm expressing my inner anguish through the majesty of song." And then the racist phone call from Ed.
The racist?
Well, that's where he's like, "Oh, no, No, it's before that he makes a racist comment where he's just like, I don't speak Spanish.
Oh, right,
It's like
okay.
right before the phone call.
I don't know a Ned.
Walks into the bathroom, comes out looking like $1 million.
Yeah.
Just immediately blows the conch. News team assemble.
Blows the conch.
It's like, hey, Ron. Oh, shit. You've been here this whole time? Literally the whole time you have.
I see that joke.
Which doesn't make any sense.
I don't think is very funny at all because like there's no indication that they're there, is there?
No. But what's more than that is they were told by Harkin to stay away from him. So why the fuck were they in the same bar?
And why would they give him a shit? Because they weren't hanging out. There's no reason for him to know that they were there.
Yeah, and he told them to assemble. Yeah. That was one thing that either a deleted scene shouldn't have been deleted or that scene needed to be rethought. Other than that, though, the movie was really good. Really liked this movie. Probably my favorite comedy. Just that one thing. And then I like when the guy pushes Veronica into the bear pit, and then Ron's there.
Yeah.
And he's like, the greatest news story of my life, launching me to heights unknown, or the woman I once had familiar relations with. I just like how he puts it.
He's like, I am in a pickle.
Yeah. It's obvious we go into the bear pit. But then I like that before that he's like, hold on. Just to make sure she heard him. And he's down there and she's trying to tell him that she feels bad about the new teleprompter thing. She's like, it's about the teleprompter thing. And he says, oh, I knew it. It wasn't you. It was Wes Mantooth. No, it was me. You bitch! Why did you do that? You woke up the bears.
So I love the scene where with the scene where he reads go fuck yourself. Her reaction to it, even though she was the one who wrote it, was amazing.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's a visual storytelling thing. She didn't really fully understand what that
he
meant.
Was gonna say it, yeah.
And that he would fully say it like he didn't know what just happened.
I think that's what threw her off. Is she was
Yeah.
expecting him to like say most of it and then realize.
Yeah.
But he just said it and ended the broadcast.
Yeah.
Oh man. And then you watched an illicit version of the movie. No?
No.
You bought the copy of the story?
Of course.
Okay, so what did Baxter say in that final scene?
Oh.
Yeah, 'cause Baxter speaks.
I turned it off.
Oh, okay. So what Baxter says in that scene is he says that he traveled while he was away after being punted. And in that time, he met a bear named something. And that bear just happens to be cousins with the bear in the pit. So the bear chooses to let them go in peace.
I forgot about
And that's
that.
why they all recede.
You know,
and then he like licks Baxter's mouth.
Yes.
It's like, I lick you. And he does.
It's weird.
He does,
He
man, for the
actually
scene.
touches, yeah. See, what's
I
weird
was
is that
comfortable with the dog.
there's a lot of stuff on Netflix where there's just no way to get those subtitles on.
I did notice that.
I've watched a couple things where I'm just like, am I supposed to understand this?
We've had an issue where we watch Game of Thrones, and for some reason, Valyrian and Dothraki are not written in subtitles.
That's awful.
So we have to turn subtitles on when we think there might be Valyrian or Dothraki.
I've had that where I turn on subtitles and it just shows me the subtitle in the language.
Or it says, speaking Dothraki.
Speaks Dothraki. And I'm
God.
like, yeah, thanks, man, thanks.
I'd really rather you not write that at all. Just leave it blank. And then so they leave, they get to the top of the ladder, out of the bear pit, and Wes Mantooth grabs the ladder, and no one's concerned. That you can see a state trooper. Like, you can see him in the camera shot, and he does nothing. But anyways, he lets him back down, and then he says probably one of the best lines. Today we spell redemption R.O.N. And then he literally drops the mic.
You know what he does right after that?
No.
He mouths the words, fuck.
Oh, yeah,
Like you fucked something up. Oh, I love about that scene is that he does this whole unnecessary thing where he's like, I hate you with every part of my body, but damn do I ever respect you. Yeah. Puts him down and kisses him on the forehead.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that was not in the script.
Probably not.
I have a feeling that Will Ferrell just stood still for that.
There was this one thing that I never noticed. When Veronica is given the anchor position the very first time, Brian actually faints.
Really?
Like, they're all upset, but Brian Fantana actually just, faints, like,
Wow.
in place. I've never seen that before, because I'm always watching Ron, who's, like, freaking out.
Oh, a really important thing I wanted to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great storytelling device. For most people who just want to quote it as memes and stuff. The scene where he first meets Veronica, we've just seen how he just kind of like gets women whenever he wants because he's Ron Burgundy. And then he meets Veronica, and she's not interested. She doesn't know who he is. And everyone's going to quote the film, like, my apartment smells of rich mahogany. But what I love about that scene is that we see that when Ron can't get someone because of who he is, he has nothing. So he's pulling so hard to try to impress her. He's like, I'm kind of a big deal. Like, people know me. I have many leather-bound books. Like, my apartment smells of rich mahogany. The
feebleness of his pickup attempts when you take out who he is.
Yeah, it's a great storytelling device that really tells us who Ron is before much of the movie at all, because it shows us that he has no redeemable qualities beyond his job, which is why it's so important when he loses his job. That's why he goes so off the rails.
Yeah,
because he has nothing else.
It's a very good point. And then in the final scene, I like when Veronica says to Ron, the most romantic thing.
Oh, yeah.
There are literally thousands of men I should be with instead of you, but I'm 72% sure I love you.
And he doesn't acknowledge it at all.
Nope.
Oh.
And even when he goes to invite her in, he says, my co-host Veronica Corningstone, and Brick walks in. And he goes, high pressure system. And he's like, no.
High
no
pressure
Brick.
system.
Yeah, he just has no idea where he is. And then you were talking about how, Champ goes on to have a sexual harassment lawsuit.
Yeah.
Brian Fantana goes on to lead the show Intercourse Island. So perfect for Brian. I like that he's the reporter in the field. I like that scene where they're like, and you're a reporter in the field, Brian Fantana.
Yeah.
And he's standing around a burn barrel with other guys and they're singing. It was really strange. It was like, is this from West Side Story mixed with Grease? Like,
and I love the final joke in the movie, which is that Ron and Veronica become station anchors, and they go like, "Good morning, world." And it's this joke about like the world news, I guess.
Well, I also like that the narrator was the world news anchor all along. This is actually a world news segment about the new anchors, essentially.
Yeah.
Sort of. Like, I like that part. And there isn't much of a hero's journey in it, but you definitely do feel a narrative. There is a narrative to the story, which is what's great about it, that it has a complete narrative that actually matters. Things happen. Ron loses his job, Ron gets his job back. It's not...
Well, what I like about it is that nothing...
listless.
Like, they don't stick on many things for very long. Everything is very quick. And
they don't repeat gags.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't rely.
Well, they repeat jokes in the rules of three, but they're small jokes, like the joke about, like the Spanish joke, and then the joke about the guy's kid on the phone. But they don't repeat stupid gags where they make sure that like the audience understands what we did the first time.
Yeah, like the announcer saying Ron Burgundy is the balls.
Yeah.
He never says anything else remotely like unbecoming.
Yeah.
Because if he did anything else, it wouldn't have the punch value.
Yeah.
Right? The joke is lost. I thought they did a great job at that. Like, Veronica narrates for one tiny segment of the movie.
It was weird.
Because it makes sense.
I like it.
It's a good part of the movie for that to happen, and then it's not necessary after that, so they don't go back to it.
Well, it reinforces that this is a biopic. So that's Veronica doing a voiceover about her time as becoming an anchor.
It's a good point, yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. But something I noticed about this movie that I think is fundamental to why it's engaging is that every scene has this exact pattern to it. Every scene in the movie, except for those tiny little transition scenes, it starts where there is minimal comedy, it builds into comedy, and then that comedy comes to some sort of incredible, extreme climax, and then immediately falls off to calmness before the next scene starts. His fight with Veronica is like that. Because it starts, there's no comedy. She walks in, she says, "Hey, Garth, like, can I use the machine?" And he's like, "Oh, well, Ron's using it." She walks over to Ron, she's talking to him. That starts to build the comedy because Ron's an asshole. And then next thing you know, they're in like a physical fight where she throws a copier at his head. He calls her a pirate hooker. And then when Ed walks in and says, "I will not have my newsroom be divided,"
it stops.
That's the end of the scene. And then it goes on to that quiet scene in the "We Will Spit in Your Food" restaurant.
Yeah, what I like about it is there's so many big names in this film.
Oh my god.
I mean, on top of the main cast of like Steve Carell and Will Ferrell, you have Jack Black. You have what's his name? He plays Cyril Figgis on Archer. He's the
Oh, who does he play in the movie though?
He's the assistant guy. He's like,
really?
Why'd you have to say that?
That guy plays Cyril Figgis?
Yeah, his name, Garth. Yeah, but I'm
Garth, would it help if I gave you some money from my wallet?
Can you hand me my phone there? I actually had it on, like,
yeah.
Relax, buddy.
Have to look this guy up.
Yeah, it's really important. It's on the tip of my tongue all the time.
I like Cyril Figgis. He's a good character.
It is Chris Parnell.
What?
Chris Parnell, and he also
I don't think Garth was Chris Parnell, was he?
Yeah.
Is that his IMDb there?
Yeah. Look at this.
Wow.
So he's also the dad from Rick and Morty.
Huh.
See, Archer, Rick and Morty, Saturday Night Live, Anchorman.
Anchorman. Wow.
He's in Hot Rod. Fucking guy.
Yeah.
Arguably a bigger actor than most of the actors in the film now.
Now, yeah.
Because he's now in 2 very successful comedies.
Interesting. Yeah, Will Ferrell obviously still being the biggest just because he's Will Ferrell.
What's the last movie that Will Ferrell was in?
Oh, he's been in lots of things. You just haven't seen him. Like, he was in The Campaign. He was in Get Hard. There's another one that just recently
Get Hard was when we were in high school.
No.
Get Hard or Walk Hard?
Get Hard.
That's a different film?
Yeah, I've never heard of Walk Hard. Isn't it Walking Tall? Are you talking about the one with The Rock?
No. Walk Hard. That's Walking Tall.
Yeah.
No, Walk Hard is the John C. Reilly film.
Oh, yeah, it's not that one. No. It's totally different. It's him and Kevin Hart. It's Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart. Get Hard.
Weird.
Yeah. I think it might have to do with prison or something. I don't know. I just know that the other guys, Step Brothers, Anchorman, Talladega Nights, Semi-Pro, and probably a couple other various Will Ferrell movies that I'm missing.
Yeah, Daddy's Home.
Yeah, that was
funny though. It doesn't rank.
Okay.
It doesn't rank anything new. Like all of the stuff that comes up is like Step Brothers, Anchorman, Talladega Nights.
Anchorman, I still think on first watch is the best comedy movie ever made. I've seen it too many times, so for me, it's I've become very desensitized to it. But the first time we watched it, I remember actually being in some pain.
You had tears in your eyes today talking about it.
Yeah. And do you know how many times I've rehashed this movie between you and just friends and the fact that in university I probably watched this movie 5 or 6 times. Plus we used to quote "You're not Ron" on a bi-daily basis. Like every 2 days at least that joke would come up.
People used to quote, it was like milk was a bad choice all the time in high school.
God,
when it was hot, right? Someone's like, "Oh, it's so hot," and someone else is like, "Milk was a bad choice."
So you had to go and get ready in the other room, and then you came back in, and I was laughing to myself. It's because I was reviewing these notes. I just watched the movie 3 times to make these notes, and they're still funny. Like, just you could take any one of these segments. Like, "You're a smelly pirate hooker." When is that gonna lose punch value? What era is it gonna be like, "Oh yeah, pirate hooker is like the new best friend"? Like, that's just not gonna happen. And Tino's expression. The coyote of the desert always likes to eat the heart of the young, then the blood runs down to the children for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and only the ribs will be broken.
I love that line because he's like, "Oh, this man is a great man.
He's a great man.
We have this saying," and it just has nothing to do with the scene.
What so a pretty girlfriend. "Oh, she's not my girlfriend. Oh, okay, well, he's a good guy. We have this expression about coyotes in my country. You want to hear it?"
And he's like, he didn't even call call him a coyote. Oh, I think that's probably like a joke about how there's always like a wise non-English speaker in films, and like that was a parody.
A proverb guy, yeah.
So what I like about this film is that it is satire, but it's not overt satire in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have some scenes that are pretty obviously intended to break like suspension of disbelief, but for the most part, it parodies things without without a spotlight saying, "Look at what we're parodying."
Yeah, they don't put parody in the title.
Like, it's not it's not Family Guy level of satire where it is so obvious what they are trying to parody. This
true.
is parodying the era.
Yeah, real life.
It's parodying like the man thing of that era too. Like, because all the dudes are such dude bros.
Oh yeah.
They're all just like, oh yeah, that Heine. Oh.
I just feel like when they set out to make this movie, they set out to make a movie with minimal fat.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a good point. The fat's gone.
Yeah. This is like the it's a terrible analogy, but this is like the Usain Bolt of movies. You know, when you think about...
I don't think that's a good analogy.
Well, you could use any person who's the top of their sport. LeBron James.
Interesting.
Like anyone who's just a physical freak, who just stands out way above anyone else. John Jones. Because everything in this movie, every scene, every little thing the actors do, like even tiny stuff that we were talking about, that sort of happens like in the background or in the peripherals of the scenes.
Yeah.
All of those things are with the purpose of making the movie funny. Which means that those are muscle, not fat.
Yeah.
It's just...
Well, every scene is important.
It drives you from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like, okay, now I'm waiting for the cool scenes at the end of the movie.
Never. Like, something that I always lose interest on is filler. And I find that 2 shows now in a row, Netflix, TV shows, sorry. The Defenders... Oh, shit. Iron Fist, The Defenders, and Jessica Jones, season 2. 3 seasons of shows I have all got to about episode 10 out of 13 and stopped. And then I saw someone made a video about how Netflix shows are generally too long. They should be more like 10 episodes. And I was like, that's why I keep fucking quitting at 10.
Yeah.
Because I'm in like filler territory and I'm like, where the fuck is the story going? It should have been done by now. Why are we still talking about this? And like, there's a lot of different ways to do it. What I like about this movie is that it has a lot of television show style setups for jokes. A lot of it feels like stuff from The Office. The way that it intros where like, you have the background noise of like the people working, and then you can't tell where the joke is going yet, but then you can tell where it is. They make the funny joke, they end it, they move on. They don't hold it forever.
I just like that in this movie, they do not give you room to laugh. In a lot of movies, and TV's worse, but in a lot of movies, they plan a joke, and then there's a period after that joke where there's not supposed to be other comedy, so that you can almost recover from the joke and start listening again.
Right.
Anchorman doesn't give a fuck.
They keep going.
They will just say like that. Compare that to 48 in the Upper Northwest and 38 in the Middle East. They just say that and keep going to the next joke. They don't. That's not a big thing. That's just something they slipped in.
Well, there's also like quiet jokes about like them throwing the football over Ron's head. Like,
yeah, you cannot see it at any point.
There's a shadow.
A bit of a shadow. But you never see the ball. You just hear it.
And then you see them like kind of like looking at each other holding it, right?
Yeah, from the side you get to eventually see
What I like about it is that no one acknowledges it. You know, there's no like engineer who's like, stop doing that.
Yeah, the showrunner doesn't get involved.
Nobody gets upset about it. They just happens and they move on. And that's also what I loved about I really expected Brothers Grimsby to be all of these scenes where the guy's like, come and look at this dumb thing you did. And then he's like, I don't understand what I did so dumb. But the movie was like forward, like front to back, just fucking filled with jokes. And they never stopped to worry about whether you thought they were funny. Like,
good.
No one ever like
doesn't matter.
Pulls someone aside to make sure that the character understands the joke. There's one character who's dumb and one character who's smart. And they just fucking run with it the whole film. Please watch this film. Like, Sacha Baron Cohen has made some really hokey shit in the past, and this film is the best
it.
thing he's ever made. I love it.
Well, I think other movies could definitely be done in the A-Discussion format. I see no reason why not. I feel like...
Oh, I didn't think that this was like a one-off of movies.
No, definitely not, but it's just very different, obviously.
I kind of like it.
Format. I do too. It's more approachable because you know more about it going into it. I'm not filling you in on all these details. You almost went Obama there. A little bit.
You know more about it
than I ever could.
What do you understand about these A-Discussions here?
Anything else you want to say about R.O.N?
No.
The man, the myth, the legend, Burgundy.
They shouldn't have made Anchorman 2. They should have taken that newsroom Anchorman fight number 2, made it into a web short, and put it up on YouTube.
Yes, that was what I was gonna say. That fight scene was done well as an homage to the first fight scene.
Yeah.
Because they did the classic Anchorman move, which is to go too far with everything.
Oh, and they pulled in a bunch of extra comedians. You know, Jim Carrey's in there.
They also had ghosts.
Yeah,
like they just went off the rails with it. So
that was the only funny part. I watched Anchorman 2, the whole thing, and I don't think I laughed once until that scene where I like got up and got excited, and I was like, oh my god, Jim Carrey's here.
Yeah.
And then it ends dumb too. Like that scene is the dumb ending, and then there's just no other redeemable quality of that whole film.
And that's why I didn't go see it in the theaters. I knew that was gonna happen. You cannot make a movie as good as Anchorman, as far as I'm concerned.
There's something
unless
coming
it's
out
different, unless it's a totally different thing
soon
that you think might be really funny.
I can't remember what it is though. It's like the continuation of a show of a comedy that hasn't been out forever.
Okay. Well, I'm honestly I really like movies like Anchorman or The Hangover that are interested in providing you with comedy. I'm not interested in a movie that wants to keep your attention. Don't keep my attention. My attention should be kept by what you're giving me.
I think it's called Spy with Melissa
McCarthy.
Yeah, and Jude Law.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have.
I went into it expecting horseshit and
actually not
enjoyed
bad,
the whole thing.
That's good. Oh, another movie actually I did like was Get Smart. Get Smart was actually legitimately really funny.
Yeah, that was funny, yeah.
And it had a legitimate storyline that was integrated well into the comedy.
Well, they used their medium correctly. They knew that like it's a spy film, so there's going to be a lot of gadget jokes. There's going to be a lot of Steve Carell fucking things up, and like, which is a great way to like set a story up the way a James Bond film goes, and then flip it, which is great.
I just love that one scene in that movie where they're poison darting all these people, and then the one guy, they poison dart him in the leg, and he gets up and he's like and then a bus hits him. Okay, with that, thank you very much for joining us in this discussion of Anchorman. We will be back next time with a discussion of Robert Louis Stevenson's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Get back to the thing you were supposed to do.
What?
At the beginning of the podcast, I said if you're a lazy person, then you're probably procrastinating by watching this instead of doing what you're supposed to do. Fucking get it done, and you'll feel a lot better.
Yeah, do it, and then come back and watch the next one.
Yeah, sure. It's going to be a long time, so who knows.
Bye.